Hello and welcome to Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast connects Celtic fans all over the planet. From Dingwall to Da Nang, Saltcoats to Seoul. Wherever you're watching from, you're very much part of a Celtic world. And regular viewers will see that the bugs in the new software have yet to be completely ironed out, but at least the theme tune played. And there are four of us tonight. We'll say hello to you all in a second, but just first I need to welcome our special guest. Dumbarton Tam is in the house.
Yeah.
Well, how are you?
Very good. Showing up fashionably late and without any tech check, so hopefully that'll all go swimmingly. Welcome to the party. Dano, how are you doing? You're also in Korea.
Yeah. Good, man. I mean, a little bifurcated Champions League experience on Tuesday night. They had a street watch party for Gwangju FC away to Kawasaki Frontal, and we've won that game, which was unbelievable. And it's a big week here in Gwangju, man. I mean, downtown is buzzing. We've got the Buskers Busking World Cup, and just some amazing events going on. Live music everywhere. The Asian Cultural Center is going mental. So all of downtown is done up. So been a good week, aside from one notable occasion starting at about 4 a.m. on Tuesday. That was very painful, but otherwise good week. Tuesday and Thursday were both holidays this week, as Tom will know. So
well, that helps with the recovery. Paul, are you fully recovered? Is your mood back to good?
Still a bit tired, so I 2:50 a.m. as you know for a 3 a.m. kickoff. Didn't really catch up on sleep last night, and still just a bit frustrated. But I'm sure we'll get into that, and maybe more frustrated by some of the commentary that's come out since the game, which suggests we'll see more of the same before this campaign's out.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I have just avoided everything since the game. I haven't heard any post-match interviews. I haven't watched any Celtic content. I'm just filling my mind with other things.
Yeah.
So I'll be learning tonight as much as anybody else what's been going on. Sounds like you're all over it, Paul. That's good to know.
A bit, not completely.
I mean, how could you be?
Well, this is what we're going to talk about. So I want to hear about your experiences of watching the game. We'll talk about what's the impact of the game. We're previewing Ross County. I'm looking forward to that. Should we just talk about Ross County and the St. Johnstone result? In fact, back to domestic bliss. And finally, a little bit of Celtic socials. So let's get into it, shall we? Your experience of watching the game, Dumbarton Tam. Were you watching it in the Seoul CSC?
I couldn't make it because it's a 4 a.m. ish, and to be honest, I couldn't sleep well because I was excited. It's this kind of the same feeling that I got for Euros for Scotland. There's a high chance you're going to be smashed, but you expect something in your mind. So I was about like a kind of 4:30 or something. I couldn't sleep, so I just woke up and tried to just watch the game. So I watched the second half. According to the news or all the kind of Facebook posts that I could read, it doesn't look quite shy as much as first half, because I could see the kind of intervals between the goals of the Dortmund for the first half. It doesn't look quite good, but second half was a little bit better. I could see is a clear message to the board that we can't do anything really well in the Champions League with the kind of our current back four. So I think if we do something in the Europe, then we need to invest on the squad, obviously.
Sure. Well, we'll get into all that. Before we do, a shout out to Greg from Lurgan. Apparently he recognized Brian at a networking event, which I imagine Brian was chuffed with. So how you doing, Greg? Thanks for watching. Thanks for hitting that subscribe button and helping us grow the show. Pushing up towards 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Isn't that exciting?
Amazing.
Well, that reminds me. for some reason, going live on Instagram is incredibly difficult. And I can't get it done before the panic. That kind of explained why I was a bit slow after the theme tune just now. But anyway, we're currently, as I just mentioned, live on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. But it's all about the YouTube subs, isn't it? So, just take a wee second to do that right now if you fancy. As I say, pushing for 2,000. So your click means a lot more to us than these big channels with like 50,000 and stuff. Only 2 shows a week, so we won't inundate you with, daily filler. Only twice weekly killer, Dano. Ain't that
Absolutely. Absolutely. Along with, I think, the new feature of the platform we're using here to broadcast. Gavin's grown after the theme music. Oh, Jesus.
I am enjoying that.
Seriously, it needs to be a regular feature, just like the songs last year.
Jesus.
I had it all worked out. I knew exactly what I had to do, but then Instagram wouldn't play ball, and I panicked. And then when I came back, I started talking. The problem is, with StreamYard, it all sort of happens automatically. After the intro plays, it goes away, and your microphone is unmuted. Here, you have to remember to do all that. All right. Anyway, nobody cares about that.
Get a post-it note. Get a post-it note.
Just like and subscribe. Dano, did you stay up for it? You're a bit of a night owl. Did you get up, set your alarm and get up, or were you up drinking?
I set my alarm. Yeah. I went to the watch party for Gwangju FC downtown, and got back from that around 10. Probably fell asleep around like 12. Got up at 3:45 and just kind of, okay, let's get into this. But yeah, my experience was once the game started, we're down 1-0. I'm like, oh man, here we go. So I literally went off to the restroom for the next 5 minutes of game time or something, and then it was 2-1. It was kind of like walking back into some kind of alternate reality or something, but it was still basically the same thing. But I was shocked we scored so quickly and then just threw it away almost quicker. So that was my initial experience. I watched the first half. I mean, we're down 5-1, man. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go get some sleep. So I went back to bed around like 5:30. But glad I didn't stay up for another 2-0 second half, to be perfectly honest. But rewatched the second half via Celtic TV today in the morning, and Valle, I mean, my main problem, I mean, with so many on the field was Greg Taylor just getting totally exposed once again in Europe, and Valle looked much better than who we had starting, I thought, for the second half. So yeah, didn't watch the second half live to start. Went to bed, and glad I did. I've got a 7 a.m. class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I had to switch it to Monday and Wednesdays this week. So yeah, I'm glad I got the extra hours these, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, well, I set the alarm and I got up, and I was kind of, when you get up in the middle of the night, you kind of feel just nauseous. You feel yucky, horrible, and uncomfortable. It's just not right. And you're sitting there feeling like that, and those first 3 goals fly in, and it was just kind of overwhelming. I felt absolutely rotten.
Yeah, it's like Family Guy, where everybody's barfing just uncontrollably. Like they all get food poisoned at the same time. Yeah, that's how I felt watching that game.
Was not nice.
Who wants chowder?
See, it's lucky for you lot sitting at home there, or back in Scotland or wherever, where you get to watch it at a decent time. Whereas we have to get up, and it totally ruins your next day or two. And you've got a spring in your step, maybe even if you're a bit tired, if things go well. But otherwise, it's just brutal, Paul, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm an old hat. I refuse to watch in delay. So, yeah, I'm up live for every game, regardless of the ridiculous hour. Champions League are about as bad as it gets time-wise, but they're obviously as exciting as it gets if as you say, things go well. And a few weeks ago, it's Slovan Bratislava was brilliant to be up in that time in the morning, and yeah, spring in the step all day. Until I came on here in the evening, and yeah, it just kept going. But yeah, when you get up at 10-3 after 3 or 4 hours kip, and that happens, it's and yeah, I stayed to the bitter end, watched the full the full 90 plus the add-ons. Yeah, not great, really not great. And yeah, like the comments are already going wild with it, but just yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it. But just a bit incredulous that we continue to play identically to how unsuccessfully that has gone in the past. Yeah, same old. All the things we said, all the things we said on Monday's show, we didn't want to see: shooting ourselves in the foot, losing goals in groups, giving away stupid penalties. We did it all inside the first 20 minutes. And it just went from bad to worse. So yeah, it's.
Well, you mentioned Monday's show, so let's start by looking at this E-Tim's tweet that we put up on Monday. Tuesday will tell us a lot about where we are. If Dortmund pump us, then it's same old, same old. If we compete and make it a tight game, that's improvement. If we get any kind of positive result, then it's, celebrating with gay abandon, or words to that effect. It was same old, really, despite Enda saying that was an incredibly negative way to look at it. But all of the positivity that we had, Tam, just disappeared very quickly, and we were like, oh no, here we go again.
Yeah. To be honest, for myself, I thought it's pretty much same today what I've been watching throughout my life for the Korean Republic. Their national team, they're really king in Asia, but when they go to the World Cup, it's the same to Celtic in Europe. So as long as you got a gaffer who knows that kind of switch them really quickly and adaptive for the kind of world the stage, then you got a really great result. But unless you don't really grasp anything in your hand, so I think it's the same thing. Like Brendanrodgers is the king of Scotland. He knows how to play in Scotland really well. He never lose to the Rangers that much, you know what I mean? But when it comes to Europe, I think Neil Lennon, surprisingly, he done much better than what Rodgers did, So surprisingly, so I think it's that's kind of a big differences in terms of like each gaffer have a different style in terms of when it comes to competitions arises. Then some people has different idea. I think it's pretty much same today. Ange Postecoglou, he just used the same tactic he used to have against the Ross County, against the Dortmund, and we got the consequences. So, Well, I think that's what we've seen.
Look at that. Most of the night, this is a tweet. Look,
yeah, man.
Our two weakest players. And then where's our where's our defensive midfielder?
True.
Yeah.
Paul, you talked about us. There's a way to do it. You don't have to, play defensively. You can tighten up. Talk us through what that would have looked like.
Well, yeah, there's a big narrative from certain people, and some of them I think are just fishing for engagement. But there's a big narrative going around that you've got to stick to your football philosophy. You can't just park the bus. Now, that's a really binary way of looking at this. Like, that's your only two choices are to go balls to the wall and have a go like you do against Falkirk, or park the bus and put 11 men behind the ball. That's clearly nonsense. There's no nuance. It wouldn't be difficult to set two midfielders in front of the defence instead of one. Have them, you saw how far up the field McGregor was, and that was a problem all night. That's the third minute. It was a problem all night, and it never changed. He didn't have a second midfielder in next to him. It was 3 against 4 at the back, and really 4 against 4 because Brandt permanently took up space in the hole behind McGregor and in front of this. So it was 4 on 4 on, let's be honest, not the strongest back four. We're already missing CCV. Trusty's been thrown in the wrong side after one game. And you've got clearly better players up against, and it's 4 on 4, and the midfield is nowhere. They were all constantly behind us. Brandt was never picked up. And we had three attackers. Again, it's just the nonsense. We were too strung out. There was too many gaps between back 4, midfield 3, front 3. You tuck those wingers in, and if you need to pick different personnel, so be it. You tuck those wingers in. You have 2 midfielders covering the back, and 1 in front support, and 1 striker, and suddenly you're closer to 4-5-1, 4-4-2 in a diamond if you need it. when you're breaking. We've got pace. We talked on Monday about how quick we can be on the break with Kuhn, with Maeda, with Kyogo, and we've got good passers in McGregor, Bernardo, and Engels. But they can't get on the ball if they're ahead of the ball constantly and we're constantly turning over possession. And then you've got four of the best players in Europe, and certainly four of the best players on the pitch, running at you. And somebody like Ademi, who, thank goodness he pulled his hamstring, because he could have had another hat trick second half.
The highlight of the game for us.
It's just, we were all tweeting on group chats, could you not have done that in the first 2 minutes instead of the first half, instead of the first 2 minutes of the second half? Like, that's how bad it was. He had the freedom of the pitch. Yes, he's up against Taylor, but they targeted him. You know, he sometimes floats around. They put him one-on-one against our weakest defender going backwards. Now, Greg Taylor, I've got a lot of time for Greg Taylor, and when he's going forwards, inverting, adding into midfield, he's absolutely at his strength. But when he's going back towards his own goal and he's trying to defend, we absolutely know it's a weakness, and we've still not dealt with it. Dan was right to pick up that Vi was an improvement in the second half, but let's be honest, the foot was a mile off the gas from them, and they could have still had another 2 or 3 goals second half on top of the 2 they already did. There was one point in the 82nd minute, we had 10 outfield players were in their half, presumably trying to get a second consolation goal, and they broke, and thankfully enough people tore back and they played it around, and I think Schmeichel got a save in as well. But to be caught 10 players wrong side of the halfway line when you're already 7-1 down is just ludicrous play. Absolutely ludicrous. And the tactics were a nonsense. You could absolutely play more compact, make it harder to play through the lines, and give the defence more protection. We said we had opportunities with the attacking flair we've got to score goals, but the real problem was keeping the door closed. And we never even tried to keep the door closed. The midfield was absent, and the defence was left hugely exposed, and we got exactly what we deserved. And then add that into the mix, the amount of individual errors we made was an absolute embarrassment. Like it was like we wilted under the pressure. Brains went to jelly. I saw people saying Maeda deserves pass marks. He gave up the ball twice for goals, trying to dribble on the edge of his box. And I love him, but why is he trying to dribble with his back to with his face facing goal? He's trying to dribble along his 18-yard box. Again, just nonsense. And we were caught in position. We were giving the ball away cheaply, and we were inviting them onto us, and we got exactly what we deserved, which was an absolute hiding. And unfortunately, we've seen it all before. And the manager to come out and say, oh, they scored from every chance they get, or they scored from every mistake they got. I hope he doesn't believe that. I hope that's for the press and the public. I hope he's not saying the same thing in the dressing room. And even though he said, you know, we've got to stick to our football philosophy, if you don't tweak tactics against the best teams in Europe, that's what will happen to you. And if we decide to play the same gung-ho way in Bergamo in a few weeks' time, we'll get another hiding, potentially even more, because they are absolutely brilliant as well. Well, here you go. This is what's possible. There were great results all over Europe last night, particularly by teams that should have been way below. Was it Brest that won 4-0 away to, was that Leipzig or Salzburg? Who was that? That was an absolute cuffing. And apparently that was about their only 4 attacks.
Yeah.
You're on mute, Gav.
Yeah, Gav, you're muted.
Sorry, there was a siren going past. What did we just say? Oh, yeah, with a different tactical plan, we could have got something. You see a lot of people saying, look, it doesn't matter. We could have tried to shut up shop, Dano, and played negative and just park the bus. But as Paul's just saying there, there's a medium ground between parking the bus and playing like we did, wide open, just hot knives through butter. The way they went through us, man, it was just excruciating, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's, it's not black and white. There's a thousand different options that you can go with, even in game, to tighten things up. But yeah, there were a couple really maddening points where we are pressing them like all the way up the pitch. Like even Paulo Bernardo is in like the 18-yard box, like trying to press them up. And I think they were just kind of luring us out so they could go right past us. And once it got out to the wing, man, it was over. It was off to the races. It happened over and over and over again. And yeah, anybody talking about, oh, it's either, Catenaccio or just balls to the wall attacking doesn't know the amount of tactical, options that any manager has, let alone Brendan Rodgers. So yeah, I mean, he's just trying to fit a square into a round hole, and like it didn't work. We just got smashed. So yeah, there's plenty of different little ways you can time the press at certain times to try and do it a little bit and not get caught out. Tighten up the wings, like Paul said. There's a million different things we could have done, especially after falling behind like 2-1 or even at any point. But yeah, it was just maddening, man.
Look at this. I was in the West End at the Westfalenstadion on Tuesday. I was shocked by the arrogance of our setup. From even in the first 5 minutes, they overloaded us on every attack. They certainly did.
Yep.
It was a real lesson. But will there be a lesson learned, Tam?
Nice.
Will Brendan, look at it? I mean, what Paul was just saying there about him saying that they scored on every attack. Well, if that was the case, why did the keeper have to make so many saves? More than he's made in the rest of his Celtic career in one night in Germany. He made a ton of saves. So
he kept it like it's still an embarrassing result, but it would have been double figures without Kasper.
Yeah. Amen.
So is Brenda going to learn any lessons, Tam, or is it just a case of we get tanked by the good teams, try and win our home games, try and squeak through on 9 or 10 points?
To be honest, like he should be learning from this game because continuing the same tactic against the teams in Europe, like the ones in Scotland, gonna be maybe working the teams like the Slovens or any other so-called minnows, but not about the teams like Dortmund. They're kind of a finalist last year, so I think there should be one of the kind of the killer tactics he needs to develop by himself. Otherwise, it's like he's never going to work in the Europe, And also, he can't just say it's all about like the players because like they're for the same team. We remember what Ange Postecoglou did against the Real Madrid for the first half only, though. But what we wanted is like something like that. If you keep your own tactics, at least you're going to show how it works against the teams like Real Madrid or Dortmund. Then we're going to, no matter what the scoreline, we could understand because there's kind of classes differences between the players, but still, what we've seen on the nights of the Westfalenstadion was not really the one we were looking for. You know what I mean? So we really wish to see the kind of what Celtic to bring the best out of them with the kind of difference, as Paul said. We need kind of more adaptive the tactics for the European stage. Then we're gonna see how we can just perform in Europe. I think that's the Brendan Rodgers should be doing the homework from his side.
Yeah, there's a good point here from James. Obviously, it's not all on Brendan. The players made loads of mistakes. We've already kind of mentioned that.
Well, they did.
What could we do differently? This is one suggestion. Was that not a game for Ida to try and hold the ball up? We stay further back. We don't commit too much. Support Ida with our pacey wingers. Go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say, we were making basic errors, but it was in the face of being overrun, and we were overrun because the tactics were really poor. So the pressure came on because the tactics were poor, and I'm sure the players were sort of realised the tactics weren't really working. But that's what they got managers' instructions. They got, and he didn't change it. He didn't change it at 2, 3, 4, 5. He didn't change it till half time. By which point they took their foot off the gas, and yeah, we looked a bit better. And a lot of people said Vi did look good, but would he have looked much better than Taylor in the first half under the same onslaught with the same tactics? Possibly, but it's probably marginal given, what is he, 18, 19, and he's playing his third game or something like that. So, Greg Taylor will always be targeted in Europe by the best teams, and I wouldn't be against Vi starting against Atalanta, but you probably want to play him a couple of times in the league before then, just to sort of get him merged into the game. But players wilted in the pressure, but the pressure came on because the tactics were really, really poor. And there's absolutely multiple ways we could have set up. There's definitely a case for saying you could have played Ida up to try and hold the ball up and get players up and around him. But even with Kyogo, like I said, with Kyogo, Kuhn, and Maeda, you could have them tucking in and then properly hitting them on the counter with quick long passes, and they've got the pace to run out. You saw with the few opportunities Maeda had a chance to run at the fullback, he had him for pace. He could absolutely gas him. So if you can gas him like over 10, 15 yards, you can absolutely gas him from 30, 40. So I just think it's just naive. And Tam said he needs to learn from this game. He's not learning from this game. This goes back 8 years. He was taking gubbins in 2016, 2017, 2018 in the Champions League. His record is embarrassing in the Champions League. That's his third time he's lost 7 goals as a Celtic manager in Champions League. He's lost 6 and 5 as well. I don't mind people making mistakes and trying things and and getting humped once or twice, but don't get humped 5, 6, 7 times. Like, you go, oh, this isn't working. I think basically what he thinks is we've got a better squad now than we had maybe previously. So now this time it'll work. It clearly won't work. There's a massive gulf between us and these teams at the peak, and we've got to play smarter to be in the fight. And we've got
it's so frustrating, isn't it? Because everybody said, this version of Rodgers coming back, Rodgers 2.0, he's going to be so much more tactically flexible than Ange. Ange is no plan B manager, whereas this guy's, well-rounded. He's played in various leagues and he's elite manager and all. Well, I mean, Jesus, where's the plan B? Anyway, who's the snitch here? Says, minnows in a sea of sharks. That calls to mind the thumbnail of tonight's show, which is taken from your friend Fitbad Tweets, Paul, which I think is it's very appropriate. It kind of sums up the situation nicely, as he often does. There's a link to his Substack in the description of this video on YouTube. So that's where you can find out all his latest work. Register with an email. You don't have to pay because he doesn't want to do it anymore on Twitter because of Elon Musk. So I hope he's fine with us using that. Oh dear, I didn't mean to put that up, but it's up.
It's a good point, actually.
Deploying an additional midfielder to disrupt Dortmund's play and retain the ball might have reduced the pressure on the full stop. Instead of trying to dominate possession, focusing on counter-attacking. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, trying to dominate a game like that. Dear, oh dear. Well, anyway, let's flip our attention to a positive, if we can. See if you agree with this. This is by completely unbiased Irish Paddy McMaida. I thought Big Liam did all right tonight when everyone else had shat it. He stood tall. He wasn't flawless. He certainly caught out for at least one of the goals, but he did do a lot of good stuff, I thought, in that game. We'll come back to that in a second, the tweet below that. But does anyone get pass marks? Does Scales get a pass mark? Does Schmeichel get a pass mark?
Schmeichel, the best of a bad lot, but no.
Dano, you're the teacher among us.
Schmeichel, I would say, gets a pass mark. Without him, like Paul said, it could have been double digits. It could have been well beyond double digits. I mean, they were absolutely besieging our goal, man, at certain points. And Schmeichel at certain times was making multiple saves in a very short window. Definitely, but any of the outfield players, I did think Scales played all right. I mean, maybe like a C minus or like a C, like a solid C. But the rest of everybody was just kind of lost in a perfect storm of bad tactics, bottling it up in front of a big crowd at a legendary stadium, and we just got completely smashed. So yeah, I'd give the goalkeeper a pass mark and maybe Scales, but the rest is just everybody's out to lunch, man.
Frank Brennan, spitting facts as always. We've been on fire, playing complete dross in Scotland week after week, and then so many thinking because we beat dross every week, then we just must be that good, and we're not, of course. I mean, hard to argue with that, really, in the circumstances.
Well,
Paul wants to.
Well, no, but we're not going to go we're not going to step up and play the same way and be that good against a team, obviously, that's 3-4 times our budget and much better players. But worse squads than ours have gone out this week and taken a point or 3 against teams that have got massive budgets bigger than them because they've used sensible tactics. They've rode their luck at times and they've dug in and they've fought for every ball. And we were all over the shop. And yes, we never have to play like that in the Champions League. So it's in the Scottish League. So it's alien to us. But that's what the training pitch is for. That's what the 3 million a year he gets in salary or whatever. He's not paid 3 million a year to win the treble. That's his bare minimum in Scotland, as far as I'm concerned. That should be happening regardless with the budget we've got across the rest of the league. He gets paid 3 million quid a year to do something in Europe, and he's delivered another amateurish performance at the top table.
Very.
Just reading the comments here, there's some differing opinions on Schmeichel. Some people saying he was good, others saying he was absolutely.
Well, it's hard to say against pass marks when he lost 7 goals, but some of the strikes were brilliant. He got hands to them. You hope maybe he'd save 1 or 2 of them, but I don't think there's too many that's his fault. Yeah, he gives away the penalty, but he's left super exposed, and he probably made 3 or 4 saves that easily could have been goals, maybe more, and that takes you to over double figures. So for that alone, I'll give him a borderline pass mark. But yeah, anytime you lose 7-1, it's hard to say anyone in the defensive unit deserves a pass mark.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no, I need to take that chat message off. Yeah, well, staying on the bright side, here's another little good bit of news. Here's a chap. This is a photograph of a Celtic fan with his arm around a very happy, smiling female Borussia Dortmund fan. And the caption reads, "Just got pumped off Dortmund. Now it's time for me to do the pumping. Yes, come on."
Is that from the Polar team?
Oh, man.
Dear, oh dear. Well, let's hope a nice time was had by all. I think we have to say. Now let's hope he delivered a more impressive performance in Europe than we did.
Yeah, because we were just pushing rope, So.
Oh dear. Dear, oh dear. All right. Well, so that's that for the game, unless anybody has anything else they want to say. I mean, I just want to move on from it. Like I say, I haven't been drinking in all the content since. So how do we move on from that, Tam? Just get on with it?
Dust it off.
Nah, just, yeah. I think, sorry, I just, do you want me to just finish that, my thought on the Dortmund game? I've just lost a while. Just, I wasn't full of the comments in my head, so many different ideas.
Well, I mean, that was the game, but now we got to talk about, where we go from here. What do we think is going to happen in the Champions League? And how do we get over this game so that it doesn't cause too much damage?
I think, to be honest, I feel like it's kind of due course, to be honest. As Paul said, there's a lot of the squads, like we've got kind of 4 to 5 times bigger spendings on their squad than us. But as Paul said, and I totally agree with him in terms of like if it comes to David versus Goliath, David has a slings to beat him. So we didn't show any kind of that kind of weapon in the Europe. So I think we need some kind of special weapon for when it comes to European stage. But we didn't see that from the brendanrodgers yet. So I think it's coming games. All I can do is just the fingers crossed, like he learned something from the game and then just do something. But obviously he hadn't done it yet. But I really wish to. So lowered my expectation, but I'm looking forward to see the games against the Atalantas and who was that? A lot more to come. So
I'm not looking forward to Atalanta. But let's go over to this, Paul. This is an exchange that you had with Stephen in the group chat. Do you want to read your point and I'll do Stephen's?
Yeah, I said we can do without the humpings because that is bound to hurt confidence. But I said all along, 0 points from these 3 games, meaning Dortmund, Atalanta and Leipzig, was the likely outcome and doesn't change the objective. I hadn't expected us to go down so meekly to anyone, but we need to concentrate on the games that are more winnable. After getting a good start, the game against Bruges was always going to be the most important, still is. Anything out of the next 2 games remains a bonus.
And then Stephen's reply is, these results don't happen in a vacuum, though. And the gubbing in Dortmund will have shaken confidence in the squad, which is crucial for Rodgers' system and relies on players being brave enough to break lines with passing, etc. If we lose the next 2 games, those confidence levels will be in the toilet, and it's not easy to get that back. I, being Stephen, started out thinking these 3 games after Slovan would be free hits, but the scale of the defeat in Dortmund has changed my view. I think we need something, even a point from the next 2 games, where the Champions League campaign could unravel spectacularly. Dano, your thoughts?
Steve is cheery as ever.
I lean more towards Paul, but we obviously can't keep getting smashed like this. I mean, it's one thing to take a beating. It's like they say in Goodfellas, everybody takes a beating sometimes. It's another thing to take your beating, learn your lessons from it, and not let it happen again. So it remains to be seen whether Rodgers will adjust or whether anything is going to change. I do think it will, but remains to be seen. And you just gotta brush the dirt off your shoulders, and we can only beat who's in front of us. So I'm looking forward to see what happens at Atlanta and beyond. So I think Paul's right. I mean, these 3 games against big time teams, any points from them are a bonus, and the crucial games are lower down the table. But it is crucial that we make some kind of change, and not even necessarily getting a result, but having a competitive game that goes down to the wire, especially away from home. So I think Atlanta is going to be crucial. But Steven's got a point about sagging morale amongst the troops, loss of confidence, their heads getting busted out, and now they're exposed. That's a big thing too. So
it's a valid point that confidence will play a part. But the good news is every time domestically we should go out and we should be doing we should be handing out the beatings, which gradually builds back confidence. And Bruges are about our level, right? They could beat us on their day, we could beat them on our day. It will be a relatively close game, I would expect. It won't be Bratislava, it won't be Dortmund. It'll be a pretty even match, but it's a home game. The crowd will be up for it, full house. If they can't get up for it, regardless of what happens in the 2 other games between then and now, if they can't get up for that game, knowing that let's be honest, going into that match, regardless of what happens in the next 2 games, like I don't want to see us getting beat 5, 6, 7. But even if we took another 2 big defeats, the goal difference will be a bit hammered. But let's be honest, the objective is still completely in our hands at that point. Beat Bruges, get something against Zagreb, beat Young Boys, we're in the playoffs. That's it. Doesn't matter what happens at Villa Park. It doesn't matter what happens in these next 2 games. If they can't get up for a home tie against a team that's pretty even with them, and they can't have enough confidence to go into that thinking they've got a chance to win, they shouldn't really be our club. They shouldn't be playing the game, and Rodgers can't get them up. He can't. He shouldn't be at that level either. Bruges will be a tough game. Just said that, but we'll be pretty evenly matched with them, and in a home advantage, we should be looking to win that game. And if we win that game, we're right on track for qualification.
Well, I wish I shared your confidence. I think there's even when you paint that best case scenario, there's just so little room for error. I mean, if we really do need 10 points, that's still a big ask. For me, well, nine might work, but we've got to win 3 home games to get 9 points. I mean,
we've already won 1, Gav. We need to win 2 home games. Young Boys are bottom of the league. They're even worse than Bratislava. We should do that. And then it's 4 points from Bruges,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 4 points from Bruges, Zagreb, and Villa. Look, I don't expect to get anything from Villa, but they could be have the B team out by then. They'll be well through by that point.
Well, let's have a look at some of the other results, shall we? And just feel free to jump in there if you want to call out any of these results. Atalanta winning 3-0 away to Shakhtar. Obviously a good side. Barcelona thumping Young Boys. Villa beating Bayern Munich at home. So you think we can go to Villa and do something?
They got their tactics right, though.
Anything else there of note? Lille, as we mentioned earlier, beating Real Madrid. Bruges winning away at Sturm Graz.
Benfica thumping Atletico is a big result.
Yeah.
Yep.
4-0.
Yeah, that's a big
Absolutely.
one. That's a big one.
Imagine beating Atletico 4-0.
And Brest beating Salzburg 4-0 away is a really big result as well. And Sparta Prague.
Yeah.
So Stuttgart beat Dortmund 5-1 in the league 3 weeks ago. And Sparta went there and took a point. Now, do we think they went 3 up front and had a run at Stuttgart and tried to play them go toe-to-toe with them? I've not seen any of the highlights, but I doubt it. I would imagine they played pretty practically and they got a result. So it's absolutely possible, but you need to get the tactics right.
Barcelona thrashing Young Boys 5-0. I don't know what's happened to Young Boys crest there. Doesn't look very right.
Very commercial.
Sponsored by Yahoo.
Yeah, right.
All right, so this is what the table looks like. This is the top 8. Look, Brest are now in second. They're sitting pretty. They'll be sharing that table among all their fans like we were after the first game.
Yeah.
Oh, look at us. Villa looking pretty good. Benfica right up there. Dortmund on top.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the next big. Oops, I'll make that smaller. The next big wave of teams in the middle section that would be qualifying. Celtic dropped down to 20th in that group as it currently stands.
Right.
And then these are the teams that wouldn't make it, joint 24th and below. And some of these teams are not going to be there when all is said and done. I think that's fair to say. The chances of Milan, Bologna, Stuttgart, people like that.
Milan have got a tough draw, so they could end up in the bottom 8. They've got a really hard draw, but they'll be there or thereabouts, battling it out to make it into that top 24. A good chunk of those you'd expect to stay there. It'd be some of these teams. Stuttgart will pull themselves up. Leipzig will pull themselves up, but there's some good teams in that bottom section, and there's some really good teams in that middle section. Like Real Madrid are outside of the top 8 currently because they've lost 1 and won 1. So, yeah, it's. I certainly think if we take the really partisan hat off, this sort of shape of the tournament is much more interesting than the groups of 4, which is pretty much you could pick every fixture result near enough. Whereas
it is very
this is definitely much more exciting at this point.
You made a point about us still having to play how many games against teams that are below us?
Well, I was being a bit facetious because Leipzig are currently below us. But yeah, we've got 4. Is it 4 games we've got against, or 3 games against?
That's what you said. I think 4.
Yeah, so we've got Zagreb, Leipzig, and Young Boys still to come below us. Sorry, Bruges as well. Bruges are below us as well. So there's 4 teams.
Bruges, yeah.
4 out of our remaining 6 games are the teams are currently below us.
Mm.
Bruges are below us on goals scored, is it? Looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, that's onto the SPFL table. We don't want to do that just yet. All right, so just a quick word from Dano. At this point, yes or no answer. Are we going to make it into the top 24? How do you feel?
I think so. Yeah, man. I mean, why not? Like,
Why
come on.
not?
Why not?
I'll give you the
Give me a
read.
break.
Just
Come on, man.
back over everything.
I mean, if you're not going to stay positive about this stuff, I mean, why even watch it? Like, I mean, this is all part of the ride. I mean, we took a hiding, we got beat up, dust it off. Let's go. We can do anything, especially at home. So we'll see what happens. But we gotta get the tactics right, And yeah, I'm still positive, despite one of the roughest experiences in recent times, at least post-COVID times for Celtic in Europe.
Here's an alternative answer to why not from Monty.
Yeah, Monty.
He's been reading Oscar Wilde recently.
Rainbows and sunshine there. Yes.
Tam, is it another yes from you?
Definitely, because for me, it's the same to the kind of watching Scotland in Euros. You can lose 7-1 to Spain, but don't talk the game against San Marino. You know what I mean? So the games against the teams like below to us in the table is a very crucial. And he wants to say yes as well, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is Mr. Sunshine and Rainbows right here.
Right.
he's gung ho, man. Yeah.
Paul, I'll take it you're a yes, definitely, because you've tallied up the points already. So you're going to.
I think there's 4 winnable fixtures left.
True.
So, yeah, why not?
Okay, why not? All right then. Well, we'll keep looking at it as it goes along, but it is very interesting to see how this table changes game after game. Obviously, it's early doors.
Yeah.
The table means very little at this stage of the game. But let's turn our attention to this table, the SPFL table, back to where we belong. There's a bit of rattling coming from someone's camera there, Dano, or someone's microphone. Okay. Right, so yes, the SPFL table. There we are sitting on top. Isn't that nice? Let's just look at that for a while and remind ourselves how well we do domestically. Cheer ourselves up with that. Ross County haven't had a terrible start. They're mid-table there with 7 points. Not the end of the world. And this is the form table. It says paints a very similar picture because the form table is always the last 6 games. Oh, now then, your dog is doing something, making all sorts of noise. His paws are scraping along a piece of paper or something.
No, man. No, it wasn't either. Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough on the ears, I have to tell you. I'm thinking of our dear listeners and viewers pulling their AirPods out. Is that a wee Shih Tzu? Nah, she's called Tina. Very good. So we're back in the SPFL to face Ross County. Are we going to come back with a morale boosting victory, Paul, and bang in a few goals, and we'll all sort of say, "Aye, you can do it." When you're flat track bullies, Celtic.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen, isn't it? That's going to be the narrative.
Of course. Even look, we're going up. It's just we should be well ahead of them. I expect they'll probably rotate the squad a wee bit, and yeah, you'll have players that are hungry for game time, and yeah, we'll probably win by 2 or 3 goals again, if not more.
What do you think the Ross County manager is saying, Dano, to this team? Saying, look, we just saw Celtic getting torn apart. Do they have an attacking player in their midst who's just waiting to cause us problems? Maybe this fella, Ronan Hale. Dano, do you remember when we showed that footage from Northern Ireland from the cup final?
Yeah.
Scored that goal.
So, yeah.
That was Ronan Hale. He now plays for Ross County. That was the last goal he scored for Cliftonville. And he scored a few goals.
This year?
Sorry, your microphone's a bit muffled, Dana.
He hasn't scored any in the league this year?
He has. He scored a few. In fact, I have a little video to play. You missed the start of the show, Tam, so what I explained to the boys backstage was with this new software, everybody has to mute their microphones before I play a video. So hopefully you can all now do so, and hopefully this video will play smoothly. This is a few of Ronan Hale's goals. The first 3 are all in Scotland. The last one is another incredible goal that he scored in the Irish League. So let's see if this works. First of all, I'm going to drop this off. And I will mute my microphone as this video plays.
Now here's Greaves. Hale goes from range, decent effort to makes it 2 goals in 2 appearances for Ross County.
O'Connor can't get the cross in. There's nobody in the goal. Hale prods it forward. Is it going to make its way in? Would this be a remarkable conclusion to a remarkable season? Yes, it is. Ronan Hale scores a 4th. Lorna heading to Europe. It is a sensational end to a campaign that has been.
So there you go. You can unmute your microphones, come back and respond to those goals. A couple of tasty ones in there.
Ooh. That third one, I'm glad I muted my microphone. And the fourth one is amazing, but the third one, I would have been oohing and on in the background. So glad I was muted because I did. Yeah.
Yeah, your microphone's definitely muffled, Dano. That was a great goal. It was against Hearts. Did you see that one already, Paul?
No, I hadn't. But it was, it's a cracking finish.
And his little touch that kept the move going down the wing, his little flick. And what a finish. Fantastic. He looks like a good player. He's 26 years old. He's from Newington, in North Belfast, which is pretty close to where me and Brian are from. People who know the area, Paddy Lavery might know, landmarks on the Antrim Road, like Manny's Fish and Chips, David's Hairdressers, where I used to go for a short back and sides and leave the top, which is strangely the same instructions I would give these days. And there's also a shop called Hector's, which was like an old-fashioned discount domestic goods store. And I remember buying my godmother, who's my auntie, a Christmas present in there. After much deliberation, I bought her a plastic dustpan and brush, which wasn't treated with great glee. You know, I remember presenting it and everybody laughing, and I couldn't understand why. But I thought it was practical, good idea. Not very Christmassy though.
Not very Christmassy and bloody misogynistic to boot.
Yeah, next time I come over, I expect the house to be slightly cleaner, Auntie Marie. But yeah, I mean, he scored a few goals. Pretty good there. What do you think of those, Tom? He looks like a tidy wee player.
Yeah, it looks like it's great that he's both fit. And just that's the one thing I can see, and he's right fit, and like he can just score goal from out of the box. So I think it's they're not one of what we've seen against the ROSCEL, the stages. Some of the kind of out of nowhere goals we've been committed to. So I think it's, unless we are doing something shy, we'll be fine. But still, we need to look closely on him. That's it.
Yeah, Larn aren't Tim's, Monty, to answer your question, but he is. I mean, we're all the same. We're all just one people. We're all just human beings. Gav doing his Christmas shopping at a hardware store. Yeah. Well, I buy slightly better presents these days. Well, my wife might disagree. But, yeah, I mean, I was 14 or something.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, talking about people making a fool of themselves. Well, talk about a big baldy making a fool of himself. It's time to move on to
another one.
Celtic social media, and this is Paul's choice.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of content. Obviously, they'll be laughing at us with the result, but they're not even in the tournament, so take the small wins that they can. But yeah, this has produced so much content with this press conference, and yeah, I loved it. I just love Tam Celtic's always class, but I just love this the still game stuff. It's a pair of these you're wanting. Permagrip Souls, Timpson's 1999, and anyone that's seen Still Game will know the episode. They all got the shoes on to avoid the slippy frozen
that's what
streets,
it
and
is.
they all end up on their arse.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely brilliant from him, and just this guy's a madman, and the longer he's there, the better.
Very good. Yeah, I just wanted to put this one up just to remind ourselves about the joy that can be had from these away days in Europe. This is from Nobu, Tokyo Tim.
Yep.
Cheers for everyone who met me, mates and ex-followers. So grateful and so much appreciated for having a chat and good time with you. Wish you all the best. Safe travel home and see you soon. Hail, hail. Tam, you know Nobu, don't you? You've met him?
Yeah. I've been knowing Nobu about more than 10 years, and he used to visit South Korea, and I used to visit Tokyo to meet him. So we were talking about like any kind of a federation of Celtic supporters in East Asia, but it didn't happen yet. But we'll see. But he's a great man. He's enjoying all the kind of venues like that once a year at least. So this time it was this, and then last time he'd been to Rome. Great times. He's a great Celtic supporter. Devoted himself to Celtic. Really. Yep.
A great affinity, I think, between the Celtic fans. Very much respect there. Going back to the game, and Dano, I'm going to hand this over to you to talk it through. I want no part in this. Go on. Take it away, Dano.
So this is our pregame. All right. Kermit's strapped up and ready for something good to happen, apparently. But if we go to the after pick, and this is what I woke up to. This was from Kaiser. When he said it to the post game, a completely gaping, abused, let's say, rear orifice on Kermit. So yeah, I think a lot of us are feeling that imagery. So Kaiser, as usual, just right on the spot for an amazing contribution to the culture of the Celtic world.
Dear, oh dear. Well, on that bombshell, I think we'll have to leave it. So one last word from each of you. Tam, great to see you back again. Hopefully this will be the second of many appearances. So thanks for being with us.
Definitely. My pleasure.
Thank you, Dano, also in Korea, in Gwangju, the whole birthplace of democracy.
Yes.
As you like to call it.
Korean democracy. That's right, baby. And what a week to be in Gwangju. If you guys can, I know a lot of our viewers can't visit, but if you were choosing a weekend to come to Gwangju, this would be a good choice this weekend. There's a lot of really great things going on down here.
There you go. You're getting some love from the chat, Tam. That's always good.
Hail.
Paolo, as always, thank you for stepping in.
Pleasure. Good to get some of that off the chest and just decompress a little bit and move forward with some positivity for the weekend.
Let's do that. So as our contributors mute their microphones in preparation for the outro that's going to play beautifully, smoothly, it only remains for me to say thank you very much, everybody in the chat, all the regulars, anybody new who's joined us. One last call for like and subscribe. Dano definitely hasn't muted his microphone, has he?
Nope. I don't think
because
so.
I can hear that scratching. Nice to go out on a few scratching noises.
Well, it's right before the groan. I didn't want to steal your thunder.
Okay, well, you can go ahead and mute whenever you're ready, Dano, and we'll close out the show. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. As always, we will be back next week to discuss a glorious victory against Ross County and how that makes us world beaters, and we're definitely going to beat Atalanta in the next game. That's what we do. All right. Ciao, ciao, everyone. Bye-bye.